Do you want to introduce your? All right, we're being recorded. Tony, would
Ye-
you like to start by introducing yourself?
Yeah, my name is Tony Musumba. I teach physics at Riverside City College. I taught astronomy almost 8 years ago at Bismarck State College. And so, yeah, uh, Jason and I went to NASA Heat, and so he'll tell a little bit more about that. But we're excited to be in optics. Thank you.
I might just interject very briefly to say I did the NASA Heat thing the year before Tony. So
All
that's
right.
all I'll say.
Thanks, Rod. All right. Can you all see my screen with the says modeling eclipses?
Yes.
All right, good. It doesn't have a usual green box around it to indicate that, so thank you. All right, so my name's Jason, and I've been teaching at Anne Arundel Community College, just outside of Annapolis, Maryland, for 18 years. I was the department chair for 5 years up until this summer, and so I'm glad to be back in the classroom more. And we will go ahead and get started. I'll do a few minutes worth, and then I'll turn it over to Tony, and you all feel free to ask questions at any time. With that, we'll go ahead and proceed. What we're planning for today is a little warm-up activity, get to know each other better. That's something that I have not been super great about, especially in the kind of the middle career part of my work here at AACC. So give us a chance to get to know each other better. Then we'll go into the background on what NASA Heat is for anyone that doesn't know. And then we do have an activity for you. It's a eclipse modeling activity, and it will be hands-on if you have the materials, and if not, you can still participate in other ways. And then we'll finish up by showing you how to access the resources through a couple of different websites. All right. So first, that get to know you activity, we're going to have breakout rooms, like 2 to 3 people. And what we'd like you to talk about, in addition to just regular introduction, where you're from and how long you've been teaching, what courses you teach, that sort of thing, is also what is your experience with solar eclipses? And then also, what are you looking to do? What are your interests, or what are you working on, goals for the next couple of years? You might find somebody else that has the same interests. And I believe Chris is working on setting up those breakout rooms.
Absolutely. We're about ready to go.
Does anybody have any questions before we send you? Oh, one more thing is when you come back, we're going to ask you to have one person from each breakout room to introduce the other people in your from your group. So that way, kind of puts you on the spot to actually learn about each other.
And how long are we providing for this breakout room?
Tony, we said 5 minutes for this, right?
5 minutes or so is good.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Excellent. All right, I'll open up the breakout rooms for you guys.
Thanks, Chris.
Good enough.
Yeah, we were kicked out.
It seemed pretty short, right? Yeah.
All right. Who would like to go first to introduce the other people that you were meeting with?
I can go first. It's fine. So I guess myself, I'm Rod Milbrandt. I teach at Rochester Community and Technical College in Rochester, Minnesota. And then in terms of the eclipses, as I said, I had done the NASA Heat thing the year before these other guys, and I've done run a couple of workshops. But in terms of the eclipses, I saw the one, several partials, and then in 2017, saw the one in Nebraska, and then saw the one this year in Texas. And then we had Tom Okuma, who I'm guessing most of you know, who's taught for, I'm not sure exactly how many years, but at
More than one.
college. What was that?
More than one.
More than one, for sure. And I'll just throw in past president of the AAPT amongst other things, just good. Also has observed, he said, 3 solar eclipses, got clouded out, and then saw the annular and the total here this last year. And then we have Joe, who's also been in AAPT and teaching for a long time, and has an astronomy undergrad, which I thought was interesting. I didn't know that. And has seen several partials and then saw the total in 2017. I don't know if that's more or less what we wanted to get. Okay.
Perfect, Rod, thanks.
Yeah.
Who wants to go next?
I'll volunteer Elena.
I have a restless dog next to me, so I turn off my screen. She's gone for now. So my story started in 2017, where when my daughter couldn't go with her brother to watch the totality of the solar eclipse. And I promised her, because she was doing me a personal favor, I promised her that wherever and whenever the next solar eclipse is happening, I will take her to see it, no matter what. And the same day, I've learned that the next eclipse will be seen in Chile and Argentina and things like that. So that was our first international trip. And this year we traveled to Canada. We watched it in Montreal, and it became a family tradition, which I enjoy. We're already deciding whether to go to north of Europe or Africa. You know, so many opportunities, learning about new countries and seeing magnificent sun to be covered by the shadow of small Earth far, far away. That's my story.
Thank you, Elena.
The storm clouds are keeping a better eye on Nesta.
Anybody else want to talk
Okay.
about
Okay.
yourself or the other people in your group?
Puerto Rico was slammed, George.
I guess I'll go. I was with Martha. We didn't really talk much about eclipses. We didn't get a chance. We were just kind of learning about each other and our colleges. So I'm Anthony. I'm at Harold Washington College, which is in downtown Chicago. And I was explaining to Martha that I teach primarily calc-based physics, but I'm kind of coming off being a department chair, so my teaching load will increase. And I taught astronomy before becoming chair, and probably will be doing it again in the future. So kind of looking for things to kind of add to my repertoire. And it turned out that Martha, similar situation. She was also department chair for, and it is kind of coming off that. Also teaching primarily calc, or I think intro physics. But the astronomy program is something they're building. But they're like on the opposite end of the country. Like did you say like Southwest Texas Southernmost College, I think it was, like at the very southern tip of Texas. So I thought that was kind of interesting to hear from her, like about her students, kind of being both, being so close to Mexico, just kind of the different students that she gets. So, but yeah, unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to talk about our eclipse experiences. So we'll maybe get a chance to do that during the workshop.
Thanks, Anthony, and congratulations to Anthony and Martha on escaping the grip of the department chair role. We'll have to catch up sometime.
I guess I might, let me report out. We were in the same group with Elena. JP was the other member of our group, and JP is from the Philippines, which is great. Engineering, IT, all that stuff. And he's really interested in physics. So that was great. I also have a similar story to Elena. Went for 2017 solar eclipse with my family in Wyoming. And so that was crazy. Remember Tony went to, where were you? You got clouded out? Anyway, so that was really great. 2 minutes of totality. And then I did Texas also for 4 minutes, but we're very lucky to actually not get clouded out in Dallas. And so we were able to see totality a little bit. And so I think my family and I have become eclipse chasers, especially when it's convenient and we have accommodation. Yeah.
Thanks, Tony. Now, my family and I went to South Carolina in 2017, and we're lucky to have good weather and saw the eclipse. And I mean, it was just spectacular. And I don't know, it's hard to explain to people that haven't seen one why you would travel, take several days to drive somewhere and get a hotel and go and watch something for 2 minutes. And anyway, as you all know, it's well worth it. And we went to Ohio this year and saw the one in April. I was in a room with Jitesh, and we had some audio problems. But I will tell you, Jitesh is from India, has been teaching for a little over 5 years, and is just very excited to be here. All right, I think that covered just about everybody except Chris. I don't know if Chris wanted to say anything.
Hi, everyone. I'm Chris Louie. I'm just running the show in the background here, so doing recordings and all of that. So I wasn't in a breakout room. I'm director of optics right now. I taught at a two-year college in Maryland, just down the road from Jason, for 13 years before starting this gig. Thanks, Jason.
Awesome. And thank you, Chris, for running the show.
And I just want to introduce myself. As Anthony said, my name is Martha Casquete, and I teach at Texas Alamos College, which is the southmost tip of Texas. So there's nothing else. I mean, after Brownsville, then you just can cross to Mexico in 3 minutes, walking distance. And our populations, most of the students, 95% are from Mexico or Mexican descendants, right? And I have been teaching already here for 13 years. I had not taught astronomy, so this is going to be a very good introduction for future, to use in the future.
All right, thanks, Martha. All right, I'm going to go back to sharing my screen and we'll continue on. Appreciate everybody sharing out. All right, so now you should be able to see a slide that says NASA heat background, and you should see closed captioning at the bottom. If not, please let me know. So NASA heat, for anybody that's not familiar, the heat part stands for Heliophysics Education Activation Team. And it's something that was created with a couple different purposes, but the main mission is to increase heliophysics literacy, but also to support folks in their teaching from middle school up through university level, introductory university level, with teaching materials, activities that are really well fleshed out and are ready to go, a lot of supporting materials. And the idea is to be able to get students more interested in what you're teaching, whether it's physics or astronomy. And I'm sure most of you are familiar with, even though you're not teaching at the K through 12 level, with the next gen science standards. And I thought I'd just mention this since a lot of us have exposure to this in one way or the other, either teaching future teachers. So a lot of our classes are servicing the teaching curriculum, And also, you may have contact with the high school teachers in your area. For myself, we have a high school teacher right now who teaches just down the road, but then he also comes and teaches for us in the evenings and has been doing that for a long time. And we've had other folks come and go. And so it's good to have an idea of that. And so what the NASA HEAT team did was to put together some what they call big ideas to kind of build a framework to go with the next gen science standards. So they were taking these three big ideas that you see here that you don't see here because I'm on the wrong screen. Here, hold on, there we go. Now you should see it. Yes. All right. So there's these three big ideas in the big letters, and then there's subcategories, and then it's mapped to the next gen science standards there. So I don't want to go into that in detail. Just thought I'd make a brief mention there. And then for us who are primarily teaching at the collegiate level, the sun is really just a great opportunity for us to take something that the students can relate to. It's obviously a big part of their lives, whether they think about it or not, but to really dive into it and all the different aspects from mechanics and E&M and the spectra and all of those different aspects to help really motivate the students to be interested in learning about the various topics that we're teaching them. We also, when Tony and I were at the NASA HEAT workshop last year, one of the things that was talked about was a survey that was looking at students all over the world and what was interesting to them. What did they find to be interesting? And there were certain things that, oh, well, this group like that and this other group like that. For example, female students tend to be more interested in life science topics, in environmental topics. And then other people might be interested in something else. But the one thing that was really across genders and across ages, and then students from different countries, was that there's a general fascination with things in space. And so the opportunity to use the sun, in this case, as the motivating factor for doing activities to get students on board with not just those boring inclined planes and various things that we look at in our typical textbook problems, which can feel really disconnected from reality to the students, understandably. And so that's the idea behind the NASA HEAT project.
If I may chime in just a little bit, I put in the initial PDF of the ROS project survey in the chat, and I guess I have a PDF of when the data from the research came. It's not linkable, so I can send that to you if you want.
Thanks, Tony. So as I mentioned, Tony and I were in the Space Physics Ambassador Program. So we applied to that and we're accepted, and we went to Orlando last June of 2023. It was a 4-day workshop. You can see us there with a kind of funny picture. We really enjoyed getting to know the other 6 participants in the program, as well as the facilitators. So it was a good chance to network. And of course, we were learning about heliophysics, but we were also just learning about the framework for educating students and for using these resources in our classes. And part of what we were asked to do is to spread the word, which is why we're here today. All right, and now I'm going to turn it over to Tony, and he's going to talk about one of the activities that is just one of the many activities in the NASA HEAT databases. And so then later on, we'll go through those databases.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Jason. It's been a joy working with you. We kind of complement each other in some different ways. So I was I'm not going to have a very hard time with this slide because we've already talked about the solar eclipses. The one thing that we haven't talked about is the annular eclipse, which is the lower one, the one that goes right across California, way down through Texas, I guess, and New Mexico. Surprisingly, I'm not really a big fan of annular eclipses, but Jason is helping me to realize that they're important to also observe. So I've never observed one. I always kind of observe like to go for the solar eclipses, the big, great American eclipses, as we call it. So there's that 2017 one that is across America. Like that was the one that started the great. I think it was great before the great American. Anyway, I was gonna say something silly. Anyway, so that's the one that goes across. The one that I went to Wyoming. Some of you went. I guess Jason went to South Carolina. Tom, did you go anywhere at all? You're muted though.
I went to St. Joseph, Missouri,
Oh, okay.
but it turned out to be cloudy, so I only saw partially the total
Partially.
solar eclipse.
Yeah. So yeah, so that was 2 minutes of Wyoming. I think that was, I don't know if we should ever rank eclipses as which one's the best and which one's the worst. I think it's just like ranking who's better, Kobe or LeBron. I don't know. Anyway, so I feel like they're all different in their different ways. So the very last one was the 2024 that went across, and not across the US, but mostly from the Southwest going towards the Northeast. The one that Jason's pointing out. And that was an amazing one. 4 minutes of totality. I only got, I think, a minute, but it's just the experience of totality that's actually, all the totality of that experience is what makes it such an amazing experience. So I would encourage you to try to get into one of those places and watch the total solar eclipse. So we're going to talk about the modeling activity. So Jason, you could move that slide to the next. So this is what we're going to have. We have, hopefully some of us have these materials. Can I find out whether you got it? Who has this? I think we got Rod. So you got Rod. Jason, do you have something?
I have my already built one.
Okay,
I could-
fantastic. So I guess we'll try to have us into breakout rooms, at least someone who has the materials. I'll be one of the people who has the materials, and I guess Jason and Rod will be the other people. So that would help us so that once we make those measurements and we can talk about this in our breakout rooms. So you need pens. I got some pens. I don't know if I can show you that pen, but it's one of those sharp pins that you need, or a nail would work. And then the measuring tape, I'm going to use a meter stick. And then clay. I got some big clay right here. So you need white clay. And as we do this activity, we're just going to try as best as we can to be in student mode. We're thinking about how our students would do this. Okay, so we'll head out into breakout rooms, and then we'll our big task for this breakout room will just be to find the scale of our model using our whiteboard, our foam board, and then determine the size of the sun and the moon, what that size should be based on our scale. Okay, and we have some data that is in the slides that we'll need. we also will have a Google Doc that Jason has put into the chat that we can type into, or we can use that information from the Google Doc. Chris, are you ready to put us into those breakout rooms?
Yes, so I'm forming 3 breakout rooms.
Yeah, take your time a little bit. Are there questions before we dive in?
And the Google Doc, go ahead and open that up because it has the instructions of what you're supposed to do as well as the data that you can see right now. But once you go to the breakout room, you probably won't be able to see that on the PowerPoint. All right, any questions? All right, well, I guess you can go ahead and join your breakout room and go through the activity.
Fantastic. Okie doke. How you doing?
Hello.
Yeah, so how did it go?
I mean, this is the main room.
Yeah, this is the main room for sure. Yeah.
Well, Jason graciously disassembled his model and reassembled it for us. So
Oh, that's fine. Yeah. We didn't quite finish off the moon diameter. I think JP is gonna finish that up later, but that's where
Is it 2.27?
2.27, as in the
The diameter.
So it's got to be smaller than the Earth one.
Okay, it's 0.44.
0.44. Okay, cool. 0.44. Yeah, that makes sense. Okie doke.
And I'll point out, obviously, each model is going to be a little different depending on how big your board was. And
yeah, absolutely. So our final assembly is going to be what Jason had done and disassembled. Thank you, Jason. So we're gonna now use our model and put in some clay. This clay, and if we have flashlights, it seemed like it worked really well. Mine worked really well with flashlights, or I guess a lamp would also work. And then you can rotate this to see whether how the shadow, because when we think about eclipses, especially the solar eclipse, we're thinking about the fact that the shadow of the moon is going to be on the Earth. And for the lunar eclipse, it's vice versa, the shadow of the Earth on the moon. And so we can observe both of them using this foam board. So that's going to be our next activity. Hopefully we have some flashlights and we can try it out. I did try it out yesterday in my office, and it's really great to have these blinds. If you notice at the very back of my room, actually, that's a blind. And we have another one there. So I was kind of surprised, pleasantly surprised that actually this could become a dark room in a sense. Not entirely, but you could actually make it pretty dark and see there. So that's what we're going to do, Chris. Again, we're going to need your expert breakout rooms.
yeah, before we go to breakout rooms, I just wanted to point out a couple things that I've learned. One, in the instructions for this activity, they say, you know, you need a really bright source like the sun, like the actual, to go outside with your model and use the sun, or to use like a projector lamp. like for your overhead projector. But Tony and I found that it's not the case at all, that just a, regular old flashlight works pretty well. And if you just give it a, get it back offset a little bit back a few feet from what you're doing and not have it right up on the model, that works. You can, set it somewhere or tape it in place. And then the other thing is I've experimented with my here at work and at home, and it doesn't even have to be that dark. So I'll demonstrate that in my breakout room with various lighting conditions. When we were at our workshop in Orlando, it seemed like it was such a challenging thing to do, but I don't know why we were having trouble with it there. It really is pretty straightforward, and I think your students will have good success with it, which is a good thing to know. And so this time when you go to your breakout rooms, let's see. So you should still have the link in the chat to the Google Doc, or maybe you still have it open. And then there's questions on page 2. And so again, reminding you that to be in student mode, to play along as if you're a student, and to think about how you can use the model to answer the questions that are there. Think about how your students will, could use the model to answer those questions, whether that would be illuminating for them, and then also brainstorm some other questions you could ask. So that's the idea of the breakout rooms this time, and we'll leave it more, like 5 to 10 minutes for the breakout rooms this time.
I have one practical question. I just was starting to make the ball, and to get it the exact correct diameter and perfectly spherical seems a little bit challenging. Did you find that made too much difference if you're?
I agree. It's challenging to get it exactly right, but even if you're off by 25% on either of them, the students will still really get a great idea of the relative sizes. And and as I was talking about in my breakout room, whenever I do an activity like this, whether it's this particular one or another scaling activity, I always give the students a chance to make some guesses as to, okay, so we've got the Earth, what should the moon look like? And I have them draw it, and they always greatly overestimate how close the moon should be relatively.
Right.
For them to see that, how there's so much space there. And then you could add to this by saying what size the sun would be and how far away it is from the model. That's not a part of the activity, but just as a bonus thing, I think that's interesting as well. And just point, then the students really get an idea of how much empty space there is, how, where it's just predominantly empty space. And they, you all know that, but they don't. And I think that's a really helpful thing to do. So yes, Rod, don't worry if you're off by a bit.
Well, just because I haven't done the activity before, I thought I'd ask,
Yeah, I think when I did previously, I also did not care about the scale too much, just to see the shadows and all that. So that's fantastic. Okay.
All right. I think the rooms are open and you can join anytime.
All right. Thank you.
Hey, so I guess we're back, and I want to hear what you did in your breakout rooms. I want to point out that actually it's 1 a.m. for JP. I don't know what time it is for Jitesh. 1 a.m.
It's 10:45 in India right now.
10:45 p.m. or?
Yeah, PM.
Okay.
It's late at night. True.
Yeah.
So JP, he's a trooper. Yes.
Yeah, you guys did great to show up. Sleep tight.
Right.
Yes. I'll get some reports from you. So I'll shut up.
So anybody that has a model, if you hold it up now, I need to get a screenshot of in action. That's one of the things I was supposed to do. There we go.
I pointed out in our breakout room that I really love the idea of students making their own Earth and Moon with the clay because I always use styrofoam balls, and that restricted me to scales for which they manufactured the styrofoam balls.
Right.
Uh,
Me
and
too.
so I couldn't be as varying with the scale of the model as I would like to be. So I really like the innovation here.
Then if you even hand out various sizes of cardboard, then each group is going to be a little bit different, and they'll have to actually do their own calculations.
And that is absolutely brilliant. Yes, I love that. God, I wish I was still teaching. Well, I could still do this with our local astronomy club. So there's still an outlet there. But wow, wow, that's huge. That's huge. That's deep.
Absolutely.
I like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Different numbers, but they all generate the same model at a different scale. That's brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
I can say something that got learned in our group or by me playing with the equipment because, you know, I hadn't done the activity before, but I was originally trying this light bulb that wasn't working because the source was too big. And then once the suggestion from somebody in our group was use the light on your phone, and I actually found out that worked fine. And of course, everybody's got a phone with a flashlight on it now, so the phone light worked fine.
That's good to know. I had not tried it with my phone yet.
Yeah, the other thing that I found that was interesting, which I experimented with, and I'm glad my group was gracious to allow me to do some experimentation. But this flashlight really has a bunch of LEDs in a circle, and then there's just one single one at the front. But I got one that only has one LED, and that was much better than this one. So it's very interesting stuff. So I want to pivot to some resources that might be helpful for you in doing this activity. So we do have PhET simulation, and I like the one that comes from University of Nebraska. The astronomy simulations are pretty good. And then there's also Art Space Lab. And Jason, I don't know if you can play this video for us to see.
Yeah, I can. And I just want to point out that, you know, I think it's helpful to, you know, have the students hands-on with the model, but then there's other representations that some students may find more helpful, which is why we're just providing this. And these are, I think we want to make sure, Tony, that we allow enough time to just go into the database and have time for the evaluation, because we are coming close to the end. So
Absolutely.
this is just going to show a snapshot here. This is the Earth here. The moon is here. The sun is over to the left. And then you can see this is the shadow from the moon and the shadow from the Earth. And so this is a new moon from the perspective of people on Earth, but the moon's shadow is not hitting the Earth. And so basically having some representation like this, and it plays, it's only like a 30-second little video to help the students understand. Maybe they couldn't see that part as you were rotating it, but then they can hopefully, you know, just like I said, representing it different ways to help them. And then there where it would be a new moon, but it would be providing a solar eclipse.
Okie doke.
Oops. That is not what I wanted to do. There we go.
Yeah, so to wrap up, there's there are two sites that we can go to get some of these resources. There's the AIPT site for NASA HEAT, and then there's the NASA HEAT website. So if you go to this site here, you can click on these activities, resources for teachers. The one that we did was the eclipses. So if you click on that, you get to the eclipses. And then you got the tutorial, Modeling Eclipses. And if you click on it, that's when you get the activity with all its questions and a lot more detail than what we've gotten into. In fact, when you do the NASA HEAT workshops, they usually kind of just go directly to this tutorial worksheet. And that's not what we did, which is interesting because, I mean, I like how we did it. So that's how the link is. And I guess Chris is asking about putting some links in the chat. We're going to do that. And so this is the activity we did. I've done another activity. Rod and I have done the one that involves CMEs. So if you go to mechanics, you'll see a CME activity. I did it in astronomy for the astronomy class. I think, Rod, you did it for a different physics class, right?
Yeah, I've done it for a couple things, and I like that one a lot. The
Yeah.
CME one, I think, gets a thumbs up from me.
Yeah, fantastic. And there are some teacher resources, teacher guides when you go through the AAPT website, and then you go to DigiKit. I'll let Jason take over on the NASA resources.
Yeah, and so this is just an example of the DigiKit. Sorry, just continuing with what Tony was talking about there. And then I've put the link for the site that Tony was explaining, which is an AAPT site. And then I also put the link for this NASA website. And then on this site, there's various things, but if you click on resources, and then it almost looks like you didn't go anywhere, but if you just scroll down, there are lots of filters that you can use to look for various topics that you might not realize that there could be something there, so you might not know to look for it. You can just scroll through all the activities, and you can also search. And so I'm searching for spectra here. This is one that Tony and I did at our workshop last year that we thought was a really great activity. And actually on the next slide that we're going to go to in a few minutes, this is one of the upcoming workshops. I think this one might be, this one's late in the year. And so I encourage you to attend that workshop that's coming up. So just lots of good resources. There's things that, you know, we want to do, but we don't have time to do, and somebody's already taken the time to make these wonderful resources. So at least take the time to look through and see some that would be beneficial for your students to get them more interested in, instead of the same old way you've been doing it, to spice things up a little bit.
And another thing to mention is that some of those activities, you notice there was a PDF and there was a Word document, so you can always tweak it so that it fits your needs. You don't have to do it exactly like the activity is like, just like we did today.
Absolutely. Oh, go back. So there is a monthly workshop series, Physics in an Astronomy Context. These meet on Saturdays. And there's a link there. I'll put that link into the chat as well. And then here you can see the activities that are the workshops that are upcoming. Like I said, that December 7th one, I found that to be a great activity. Rod and Tony were praising the CME, Science Coronal Mass Ejections. And then here is this link in the chat so you can get to these workshops. And then we better get to our evaluation. We're running out of time here. So again, I need to put the link in the chat here. A lot of unexplained links. So this most recent one is for the survey. And so we would greatly appreciate if you could fill out the survey. We really value your feedback on this presentation, this workshop today. And I know if you wait, you won't do it. So if you could do it now, we'd appreciate that.
That would be great if you did it now. And we might have a few minutes for questions and also for Tom to talk about the next workshops that we're going to have at Optics.
So the very next workshop is the latex workshop, using latex in your physics classrooms, that Joe Hefner is going to be the presenter. And that's on August 30th. If you go to the Optics website, you could sign up for that workshop or any of the workshops that are listed there. Joe, did you want to say something briefly about your workshop? You're muted, Joe.
Sorry about that. Attendees need a free account at overleaf.com, and they need to bring a physics book because the goal of the workshop is to write up a solution to a physics problem of your choice. And it can be a computational problem, and easiest would be using GlowScript or now WebVPython, but bring a textbook and have a free Overleaf account.
Thank you, Joe. Well, we want to, as we wrap up, we want to thank both Tony and Jason for a job well done, and we appreciate the information that they're providing for us, the two resources that they listed, the NASA HEAT site, as well as the NASA HEAT part of the APT website, are things that you should look into.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Tom.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for helping us facilitate this workshop, and we thank you also the TYC folks for showing up, and the international crew. Martha, do you qualify as international? You're really close to Mexico.
Yes, we are close to Mexico. Yes, and sometimes when we have events and they come over, we say it was an international event.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Helps when you're only about 5 miles from Mexico.
Yeah.
Not even that far.
I'm going to stop the recording now. Thank you.